Hey guys, Zen here, and today we're back with the latest news for Rainbow Six Siege, of course, but we're also going to catch up on the biggest stories that have popped up recently, and there's a lot. And so guys, let's get into this one. Firstly though, today's video is sponsored by Moot. Guys, if you're looking for a community of gamers to connect with, I recommend you check out Moot and its flagship LFG feature. Once you download the app to your device, head over to the LFG tab and look out for a squad to queue up with. Or if you'd rather take the lead, you can put together a post and find exactly what you need in teammates on any platform you'd like. Now, if you're looking for the advantage, Moot has developed some incredible guides that you can find within the Rainbow Six Siege Gaming Lounge, and if today isn't the day to sweat it out in ranked, you can always explore some additional content like memes and fan art throughout the community. So guys, you can click the top link in the description and download Moot on either iOS or Android free of charge, but it also makes a great companion on PC if that's your preference. Guys, find your next squad using Moot's LFG tool or explore more about all of your favorite games in the gaming lounges. And of course, thanks to them for supporting the channel and sponsoring our video. So first up, we're speaking about the Grand Larceny event that is now live in Rainbow Six Siege, and it's something special indeed. To begin, it takes place on a custom version of the old Hereford base that's essentially been gutted out and replaced with breakable wood surfaces everywhere. Like literally, you can remodel this one in a way that you can't on any other map. The reason for this is because there are multiple safes placed throughout the map, and it's the attacker's job to enter the building and crack them open. And of course, it's the job of the defenders to secure them and prevent the attackers from getting hands-on with the loot. Now, the game mode features shotguns only with a significant buff to their destruction, and every operator featured here has access to just one shotgun and no secondary weapons. So the point is to be up close and personal and use that extreme destruction to literally drop the safes through the floor to either crack them or better defend them. Naturally, with the entire map being soft breachable, you can just as easily shotgun a big enough hole for you to drop through, and there aren't any of those metal bars stopping you. And so yeah, you can literally make it rain operators here, and it's some of the most fun you've probably experienced in these types of events. So that's the gist of it, an almost entirely breachable map that you can basically hollow out, shotguns only, and safes to crack. If the attackers crack 3 safes, they win. If the defenders hold them off, they'll take the round. But of course, this is Rainbow Six Siege, and wiping out the enemy team is always an option here. To just sum it up, I like it, and I think there's a lot of fun to have here. If you're someone who's always wondered what it would be like to just pop a hole in the floor and jump on through, you can do that here. You can also find some really interesting ways to gain access to the safes by dropping them onto your position, or as a defender, you can open up the entire map and just have a shotgun slaying fest arena style. And I think either way, it's a unique spin on things. Now, there are some premium Grand Larceny packs that'll run you close to $70 for the full collection, and yeah, you may see that as a bit ridiculous, and I get that, but you can always grab them with the in-game renown, and it's going to run you a whopping 348,000 renown, which is just whoa. Like, I've personally never had that much renown all at once, but I know some people save up just for events like these, so there is that as well. Next, we're going to jump into probably one of the most controversial leaks in a while, and it could be taking place as early as Year 5 Season 2. So in the next season of Rainbow Six Siege, it came out that Doc is being changed from a 3-armor 1-speed operator to a 2-speed 2-armor operator. Additionally, he'll be losing the ACOG on both the MP5 and the P90, and so as you're probably aware, this is a big change to this operator, and I think this actually makes a bigger impact than what happened to Jaeger in Void Edge. Now, as with Jaeger, a lot of people are curious, like, why is this even necessary? These have been some of the most consistent and popular operators ever in Rainbow Six Siege, and both have been here since day one, and so why change something that the community has become super familiar with? Well, if you've been here for any length of time, you'll quickly realize that Doc is the master of the spawn peek. The ACOG allows him to be pinpoint accurate from a long distance. If you manage to get shots on him, the 3 armor is able to soak up a lot of that damage, and of course, the stim pistol just recovers any health lost during the gunfight, and so there really is no better option when your goal is to get an early pick, and so for me, this is a hard counter to one of the best spawn peekers in Rainbow Six Siege. Another factor is Rook, the other 3-armor Frenchman on defense. He shares a lot of similarities with Doc. He has the 3 armor, he also has the ACOG, but just generally speaking, Doc is by far the more popular operator, and if both of these operators aren't together on a squad, Doc is most certainly there, and so it's possible Ubisoft is looking to even that out a bit. Now, for me, I've just always preferred Rook. He's meta, he's obviously very simple to use, and you also don't have the issue of constantly needing to monitor your teammates' health to see if they're low or hear how selfish you are if you use all 3 stims on yourself. So for me, Rook is just a little more mainstream, and I'm glad to see that he'll see a little more love after a change like this. But I guess the one thing I'm not a huge fan of is that lack of consistency. Look, between the change to Jaeger and upcoming here with Doc, trying to be consistent with these ops is being made just more challenging. And even though I don't think this is the writing on the wall for this operator, it is a big shift in what he's all about. And so just as you don't see nearly as many 3-speed spawn peeking like you did back in year 2, it might be a rare find to see Doc trying to peel back your face as you're moving towards the map. And I suppose it depends on you how you feel about that. The last thing I'll say here before we move on is that I think Doc kind of had this coming. All things together, Doc is one of the best operators in Rainbow Six Siege, and also the best spawn peeker in my opinion, and I think Rainbow is looking to dial that back a bit. Now, will this destroy the Frenchman? No. I think Jaeger has settled in with his nerf, or buff, depending on how you look at it, but one of the biggest reasons to choose this operator is that ACOG, and now that it could be gone here, I don't know, he could end up falling hard because his weapons aren't the 416 and don't put out a ton of damage. Naturally though, there is more change coming next season, and I wanted to quickly go over them here. Blitz is getting an ADS buff, so he'll be able to aim down sight a little bit faster. I'm sure many of you are excited to hear about that. Amaru is also getting a ready up speed boost for after she lands, so her weapons will draw a little faster, and here's hoping this update addresses what I think is her biggest issue, where she just stands still for a full second after landing. If you play her a lot, you'll understand. Nog is receiving an ACOG for the FMG9, and Jackal will be losing his ITA-12S, the secondary shotgun. Altogether, some massive changes coming to a few of the operators in the game, and I think the biggest takeaway is an aggressive push to change the meta and some of the things that have been baked in for a while. Now, before we go too deep here, it should be noted that there are some things here which I doubt are coming, and so it makes me question the legitimacy. Firstly, the leak states Amaru will be able to use her Gata hook indoors, and this is really the first red flag because the devs have specifically mentioned that they did test this feature out for her, but it ultimately didn't feel like Siege, so they scrapped it. Of course, there is a new dev team in place, so it is possible they want to revisit this, but I do think that's an important note here. Another big change is that all of the attackers will default with 2 breach charges down from 3, and even bigger, the game is doing away with all of the Russian scopes and changing them over to the standard optics for weapons. So Finka, Kapkan, and the rest of the gang will no longer have access to the Russian exclusive sights, which, depending on your preference, could be a tough pill to swallow. The final bit is about secondary gadgets. Jaeger will lose barbed wire for a nitro cell, IQ will swap out breach charges for smokes, and Doc will trade the bulletproof camera for impacts. So guys, it is a leak. Take it with a grain of salt, you get it. But Jaeger with a nitro cell, it's wild. Now, this is all coming from somewhat of a trusted source, and so I'm sure some of it is happening, but I doubt everything here is set in stone. And remember that these plans could have been in place 2 or 3 seasons back, just a point to consider. Now, even if all of this doesn't turn out, I still think there are some valuable conversations to have here, and so yeah, there's a lot, and I want to know how you feel about it. But we must continue. Next up, the devs have passed through an update that's currently live on PC that addresses some of the top issues like cheating and MMR, and also a bit of a surprise nerf to Ying. She lost to Candela. Instead of 4, she's back down to 3. And of course, this is to make her less self-sufficient and less frustrating for the defenders to deal with. Now, obviously, since Ying received her big buff this season, she's become one of the most threatening attackers to come into contact with on defense. In an interview, the devs mentioned that this was mainly in an attempt to buff up Warden, and yeah, I can say I've seen him a bit more since the buff, but I still don't think his utility is super effective against this, and as you guys can guess, it's because he still has the movement penalty, and of course Ying does not, so I think she still has the edge there. I don't know, I do think Ying is in a better spot, and I also think 3 Candela is the sweet spot for her, but with the nerf to Jaeger and the fact that they still go off with Wamai's magnets, she's still pretty unstoppable when it counts. Now, my perfect Warden would just do away with the movement penalty and significantly reduce the amount of time he has access to the glance. That way, he can use it in short bursts and not be bogged down by having to be still. Until that's the case, I just don't see the community making him meta. And yeah, there is still the loadout, but I think he can work with the MPX as long as the glance is a little more effective. Ying is definitely a powerhouse right now, and I think she feels better than ever, but things are a bit different now than they were in previous seasons in the meta, and I think if you play it right, she's tolerable. Finally, guys, we're gonna circle back and talk about the next generation Xbox because there's an interesting new development that I wanted to detail for you here. So if you've wondered, like, what's the next big thing for the new consoles? Like, what's a satisfying reason to upgrade? Well, if that's the question, the Xbox Series X answers with a feature called Dynamic Latency Input, or DLI for short. The head of Xbox detailed DLI, and basically what it refers to is the ability for the console to immediately display your inputs on screen as you game. The latency between input and action on screen will supposedly be near real time and will dramatically affect how games feel moving forward. Now, I realize that may not sound like the biggest deal, but if we apply it to Siege for a second, you can begin to see why this could make all the difference. Every millisecond matters in a highly competitive game like this. It could literally mean life or death, and so shedding some of those crucial timings off of your inputs could actually improve your gameplay. Obviously, wireless technology is the standard on consoles. It's not every day you see people using wired controllers and peripherals, but with wireless comes latency and even sometimes lag, and it looks like DLI is being designed to finally bridge that gap. Technically, the consoles will read the inputs just before the game asks for it, which will in turn keep you, the controller, and the game synced up in a way that just doesn't work today. So obviously, guys, we're talking about something that's more feeling than anything, and so to really experience this, you'll have to go hands-on. But I do see this as a game changer in the same way going from a 60 hertz monitor to a 144 hertz monitor just makes gaming smoother. So take that as you will. But guys, that's it. First and foremost, I'm back. For those of you curious, I've been busy with a move and getting my new place all set up and production ready, so be prepared for heaps more content to be delivered to you, and of course, thank you for the support in making that possible. We're nearly midway through 2020, and yeah, it hasn't been super easy here, but I think we're all doing our part in making the best of it, so give it up for yourselves, guys. You're doing great. Now though, I want to hear from you. Do you think Warden needs a buff now that Ying is back? And what about Grand Larceny? How are you getting on with it? Leave everything in a comment down below. Guys, if you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, thanks for watching.